I wanted to get into the Levi Onwuzurike discussion because he is officially back. And when he came out, Sam, he was drafted ahead of Aleem McNeil. People forget that. He was a highly ranked or higher ranked prospect over Aleem McNeil. And I guess you could say you look at it like, hey, you get essentially a free second-round pick that just kind of drops on the roster this year, missed entire last season. But even in his rookie year, 16 games, had a sack, he was in the rotation, he was solid. But again, we didn't really get to see him develop in his second year like Aleem McNeil did last season. What are your expectations for Levi Onwuzurike? Is he seriously somebody that can crack the rotation and be a big part of this defensive line, or you think at the very least he'll just be a depth piece?
The Levi Onwuzurike conversation is an interesting one because, and I'm going to take it back to Brad Holmes, because Brad Holmes, I'm going to analogize him and all NFL GMs to a single guy. So one of the things you learn as a single guy, one of the things that you're told is they can't all be 10s. And when it comes to Brad Holmes, Levi Onwuzurike so far has been the perfect example of that, because Brad Holmes, if he were a single guy, he has picked a hell of a lot of 10s. I mean, you look at 2021 alone, Penei Sewell, 7th overall pick, top 10 tackle in the NFL, I would say at worst. And then you look at Aleem McNeil, 3rd round pick, rotational defensive tackle, the leader of that unit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round pick, obviously a home run of all home run picks, top 10 wide receiver in the NFL as a 4th round pick. And then you go to 2022, Aiden Hutchinson, 2nd overall pick, leads all rookies in sacks, great pick. 3rd round pick, Kirby Joseph, forces 6 turnovers as a 3rd round pick, unbelievable. And then you look at the duo of 6th round picks in Malcolm Rodriguez and James Houston, obviously phenomenal. James Houston 2nd among all rookies in sacks, 8 sacks in 7 games, absurd. Malcolm Rodriguez is an all-rookie linebacker. And then if you even want to throw in Jamison Williams and Josh Pascal, injury-plagued seasons but showed a ton of promise. And then, of course, there's one Levi Onwuzurike, who's looked like the one black mark on Brad Holmes' resume. But like I said before, they can't all be 10s. Right. Levi Onwuzurike had what I would call a very disappointing rookie year. When you look at his advanced metrics, he was terrible against the run. He actually played, but he wasn't very good. And in 2022, he missed with a back injury. He had back surgery, which can be degenerative. It could be detrimental to a player's entire career. But maybe Levi Onwuzurike is the reclamation project. Maybe Levi Onwuzurike has a glow up and actually turns into something for the Detroit Lions, because all he really has to do at this point, on a position that I would say is one of the Lions' weaker positions. I don't think Levi Onwuzurike was really accounted for, but when you look at all that they have in terms of depth, their defensive line room, they've got Aleem McNeil, Isaiah Buggs, John Kaminsky, Broderick Martin, Christian Covington, and then maybe a Levi Onwuzurike, who, as you said, was at one point a much better prospect than Aleem McNeil. If he just becomes a rotational piece, if he just makes a couple of plays, if he's just a body in there to be just somebody who can defend the run and maybe get a sack or two and provide just a little bit of interior pressure, this could actually do wonders for this defense. I don't know if Levi Onwuzurike is ever going to be worthy of being a 2nd round pick, but at the same time, at this point, you don't need him to be that. He's just kind of a free rotational piece on your interior defensive line, and that is what I expect from him. I'm not expecting him to be a star. I'm not expecting him to be somebody who starts and plays every single game, but he doesn't have to be that at this point.
Right, especially with all the depth the Lions have right now. And again, I hate bringing this up because, trust me, even though I wanted this player, this is where we're at. You didn't address the interior defensive line in the draft, at least early. So, of course, it's going to be one of your biggest question marks on this roster currently. It's interior defensive line. And there's a lot of interesting guys there, guys that you have hope for. Josh Pascal can move inside. Aleem McNeil lost a ton of weight, a lower percentage of body fat. What does he look like this season? You have Levi Onwuzurike coming back. Obviously, you just mentioned it. Buggs, who played last year and showed he could be solid. They just drafted Broderick Martin as well. So regardless, there's guys that you like, but nobody is really standing out from the rest. Like that's what you're looking forward to seeing this year. Is who will it be? Will Aleem McNeil solidify himself as the dude, or will Levi Onwuzurike or Josh Pascal show enough promise? Like that's, and you could say it's the biggest question mark. I think it'll figure itself out because I still like the talent they have inside. You just mentioned John Kaminsky, who was solid last year. But Brad not drafting Jalen Carter showed me he's comfortable with who he has. Now the question is, who does he have? And this season, I think, is about figuring that out. And maybe Levi Onwuzurike can crack that rotation and be solid. Because, again, Levi is similar to Aleem McNeil. His production won't always be statistically based. Aleem McNeil, if he gets a couple sacks a year, some tackles for loss, like you're looking at Aleem McNeil and his value in the run game, but not having a guy, another body like a Levi Onwuzurike, I think kind of costs them when you get into games like Carolina where they rush for 350 against you. You need more bodies up front. So maybe Broderick Martin can be that guy. Maybe Levi Onwuzurike can be that guy. But I do have hope he could still be solid. But the question is which one of the guys in that defensive line rotation kind of rises to the cream of the crop, Lucas? And I don't know who it will be. I think I have the most confidence right now besides Aleem McNeil. I like Josh Pascal a lot. And that's probably the guy I'm leaning towards.
You like Pascal?
I do.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but why? Just because we haven't seen much, but like,
because
where's the confidence coming from?
Well, the leadership traits he has coming out of Kentucky. He was a captain, but also I'm pretty sure he led or was up there in the SEC in tackles for loss. So he's a guy that could play the edge. You could play inside. You can move him around. And when he did play last year, didn't play a lot. He was injured. But when he did play, he was solid. So I'm hoping this season, playing with Aiden, James Houston now, these guys, he'll be a piece. Because I'm looking at guys you can move in the middle, and Josh Pascal is one of those guys.
No, he definitely is. And I'm not saying this guy's necessarily going to be a star, but I think John Kaminsky's a guy that's going to take another step that people are going to take for granted. And I don't think, like you said, kind of with the statistics, I don't think it'll really show on there. But when John Kaminsky did for the Lions run defense last year, especially now the fact that we have Jack Campbell, another year of this D-line with like Derek Barnes and Alex Anzalone, another year to mesh, like you said, along with the other pieces, I think the guy that's kind of going to be the unsung hero is going to be John Kaminsky. I really do like Broderick Martin a lot. I think once probably like week 8, week 9, where he really starts to get a feel for the speed of the game, he'll make an impact. I still like Isaiah Buggs a lot. I still like all these players a lot. I just think what needed to happen, we needed a true field general at the linebacker position who was athletic enough to cover tight ends and play and run through every gap that you need to do, fill every gap. I think it all comes down to Jack Campbell's performance to see really like the improvement of this defense, and Derek Barnes. I expect a big year from Derek Barnes.
What about you, JB? Levi Onwuzurike, what kind of hope you still got for him to be a solid rotational piece for the Lions?
Well, I just want to start off by playing this little sound bite of him when he walked back into the training facilities at Allen Park.
I'm back, bitches!
Actual footage from Levi Onwuzurike. Good find, JB.
Actually, sound clip. I can't believe that, but I think Levi will be a solid rotational piece. As Flannel said, like you already have Aleem McNeil and Buggs. They're quality, good starters for you. And he's coming off that back injury as well, too. You don't want to push him as much. I know Dan's going to ease him back into this defense as much as they can, get him as many reps as they can, but they don't want to overdo it. Because as he said when he commented on the whole situation, just you can never be fully beyond 100%. All you can do is just manage this back injury, which he's done a pretty good job of, especially that first season. And now it's just, hey, you're coming off the surgery, so we're just going to ease you back in. We don't want to push you too much, but I think he'll be a solid rotational player in this this defense, I should say.
Yeah, that back injury is concerning. It is. Like that's a significant back injury. Like Sam alluded to earlier to his point. Like that's the biggest concern. But again, the more depth you have, the more positive, because guys aren't going to be tired. You got a rotation. You got fresh defensive linemen coming in and out. Levi Onwuzurike isn't all you have. You have quite a few guys that could rotate in the middle, on the edges. But another thing to take away, too, and this is why I have hope for Levi still, Aaron Glenn, as much flack as he got last year, what he did with all the young defensive players, this team combined for the most sacks in Lions history with rookies. So don't tell me that Levi Onwuzurike, he'll have all the opportunity to succeed. It's up to him. And the other part you look at, too, at least with Levi, is he's going to be playing with more talent than he had when he first got here. I mean, now you got, it's like he missed an entire year. Boom, now you got Aiden and James Houston. Both now in their second year, so that's exciting. But you mentioned it earlier, the what they got out of guys drafted late, like what they got out of Houston, what they got out of Malcolm Rodriguez. Don't tell me a guy who was drafted just 2 years ago, 41 overall, 41st overall in the NFL draft, can't still show something. But we shall see. It's up to him, Sam. He's going to have all the tools to succeed with more talent around him.
But just imagine how big it would be for this defensive line if Levi Onwuzurike actually does show something, and even for Brad Holmes, because every single GM has a guy that they miss on. And so far with Brad Holmes, it appears to be Levi Onwuzurike. But what if he didn't actually miss? What if Levi Onwuzurike actually turns out to be pretty damn good? Like I said before, I don't expect him to ever live up to being a higher pick than Aleem McNeil, but at the same time, if Levi Onwuzurike can be healthy, I think this could be absolutely huge for this defensive line. And Lucas, you kind of mentioned it earlier. I think the keys to this defensive line being maybe hitting their ceiling, especially in the interior. One, I think Aleem McNeil has to clearly separate himself from the pack.
Yes.
And when you hear what he did this offseason with going down to 13% body fat while still maintaining the same weight.
We like that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing you can not like about that because I think it'll make him more agile. I think it'll be able to make him have more stamina, be able to play more snaps,
Stay healthier,
and to be able to get off blocks and actually provide more consistent interior pressure. And then you even mentioned John Kaminsky. You mentioned what John Kaminsky did against the run, but even more than that, he was third on the team in sacks last season with 4. And here's the thing: I don't know how much you want to take away from this, but John Kaminsky played in 14 games, and the Lions were 9-5 in them.
And with a club on his hand too.
With the
Man
club
was
on his
doing
hand.
it one-handed.
The club.
He was one of the most valuable players on this defense, so much so that it was a big-time priority for the Lions to re-sign him, which they did. So if John Kaminsky, you mentioned John Kaminsky even taking a leap. If John Kaminsky and Aleem McNeil can take a leap, and then of course Buggs and Christian Covington can kind of be in the rotation, Broderick Martin has an okay rookie year, and Levi Onwuzurike gives you something, I think that's the makings of a pretty damn good interior defense. Not great, not elite, but they don't have to be great or elite. They just need to stop the run more consistently and provide more interior pressure. And I think those are locks this season, absolute locks.
Patrick Barker says, are we going to be able to see anything meaningful until the D-line practice, from the D-line practice until they get pads on? Yeah, I mean, that's where most of this stuff you look at it, and it means more. Right now, it's more for just guys to get into shape.
Yeah.
And to make sure that chemistry's being built on the field. That putting pads on is what matters. You're right, Patrick. But right now, you're just analyzing who's there, who's participating, and someone for like Levi Onwuzurike, who missed all last season with a back injury. It's significant that he's just there. He showed up. Hoof Hard, it says, depends on how the back surgery affects his play. If he ever gets close to 100%, he has the talent to have a shot. Yeah, I agree with that, 100%. Lucian says it's too far to say Brad missed. Dude has his rookie year, or had his rookie year, and then got injured. Well, to Sam's point, we don't really know yet. I think it's to be determined at this point for a second-round pick. You'd like to see him more, so
Yeah.
to Sam's point. But if he comes out this season and has shown he's solid and can be a rotational player, I mean, maybe you can't say he missed, but again, to your point, Sam, Brad can't hit on every single pick. So if he just finds a rotational, a solid player, I think that'll be all right.
Well, and that's my point. It's more to marvel at what Brad Holmes has done, that he really only has one notable miss so far, and that is Levi Onwuzurike. And Levi Onwuzurike has a chance to change the narrative and become at least solid, because I agree, if Levi Onwuzurike can at least be a rotational defensive piece, how can you say that it's a miss, especially on a defense that presumably improves, on a team that consistently wins, at least for the next couple of years? That would be incredible. So yeah, I guess when you look at individual play, how can you not call Levi Onwuzurike a miss? But he has the chance to change it all around. And I think at the absolute least, he is going to be a net positive on the team this year. Whether it's incremental or exponential, probably more likely incremental, it doesn't matter. Levi Onwuzurike being back is a great thing for the Detroit Lions.
I'll tell you what.